Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin Yala. My name is Scott, and in today's episode, I'm going to cover two things for you really quickly. The first is how early we are in this whole Bitcoin thing. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is I want to tell you about gold versus Bitcoin. Okay, so the first thing, how early are we? Well, just to give you some idea, I'm traveling right now, and when I was in the airport in O'Hare, I talked to 15 people about Bitcoin. Only one person owned any Bitcoin, and they owned about $200 worth of Bitcoin, okay? The other 14 owned zero Bitcoin. On the plane, I talked to 5 people. Of the 5 people, none of them owned Bitcoin, and 3 of them had heard about Bitcoin. Okay, then when I landed, I had this is about 14 people I talked to. And of the 14 people, again, one person said they owned it. I kind of didn't believe them. I think they just said that so I would stop talking to them. But let's just go with the one and assume they're honest, even though they weren't. But so 1 out of 14 owned Bitcoin, and they owned about $500 worth. They said, so that was that person. But so you got 1 out of 15, 1 out of 14, 0 out of 5. That shows you how early we all are. And those numbers are really good, okay? Because who is buying Bitcoin? Corporations are buying Bitcoin. Kings, municipalities, cities, governments, big business like BlackRock, okay? So Fidelity, all those big ones, okay, out there, they're all buying Bitcoin, okay? Now, what about the average everyday people? They're not buying Bitcoin because they're afraid of Bitcoin. They don't understand it, okay? So what I try to do, I really want everyone who comes across this channel to earn a lot of money in Bitcoin. And I want to earn a lot of money too in Bitcoin. So I continue to learn. So that's why I give people a little bit of knowledge and a little entertainment, if you will, as well, so you can learn about Bitcoin. I made a previous video and I showed how I bought $1 worth of Bitcoin on Cash App. So that removes that excuse that I hear all the time. Oh, I can't afford it right now. I just don't have the money for it. Really? You don't have $1? You don't have $10? Okay. Most people do have $1 or $10. Some people don't, and if you don't, I understand, because there was a time when I didn't have $1 or $10, so I get it. But when you do get that $1 or $10, and it's not about the money. The reason I'm saying put something into Bitcoin is because if you do, then you will learn about Bitcoin. Because in your mind, and I look like that meme guy, he's like, no, I don't look like him. But so if you put something in Bitcoin, anything, then you're going to watch a YouTube video on Bitcoin. You're going to read on it. You're going to study on it because you have money in it. And it doesn't matter the amount, because whatever amount you put in is important to you. So put something in, anything. Put it in Cash App, Venmo, Square, PayPal, right? They all have Bitcoin in there. It's very easy to get. So anyway, so now what I want to do for you guys, after I showed you how early we are in Bitcoin, right? Get in. It was made for the whole planet, for 8 billion people. We, all the people, can benefit and help our families, and this is the best way to do it. The last thing I'll leave you with before I show you my other thing is that Bitcoin has integrity. So you may be a small fish compared to Michael Saylor, who buys millions and millions of Bitcoin. Well, good news is if you get in Bitcoin, you're treated the exact same as Michael Saylor, as Robert Breedlove, okay? You're treated the exact same, which means you will profit the exact same. Did you hear what I said? You will profit the exact same as people who are putting hundreds of millions of dollars in there. Okay, what do I mean by that? The percentage you will profit is the same. So for example, when BlackRock put $2 billion into Bitcoin and it doubled it, it went from 30,000 to 60,000. virtually overnight, those who had Bitcoin doubled their money. So if you had $10 in, you now had $20. If you had $1 million in, you now had $2 million worth of Bitcoin. See? So that's how it works. Everyone's treated fairly with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has integrity. So, okay, so that's enough teaching for today. So now the fun part. Here's the fun part. The fun part is this. I'm going to show you a 1-minute clip of Peter Schiff versus Robert Breedlove. Schiff is a gold bug. Robert Breedlove is a Bitcoin guy who's pretty good in Bitcoin, well known. So this is very entertaining. Let me know your thoughts below on who you think won this section of the debate and what you think about Bitcoin versus gold. Here it comes.
What it is, 70 some odd thousand dollars is what you'd have to pay to acquire a single Bitcoin at the moment, because people want them. But I think the main driver is speculation. In fact, the main buying right now for Bitcoin is coming from ETFs, people who couldn't care less about all the properties that you're talking about, because they don't even own the Bitcoin. They own an exchange-traded fund that supposedly has the Bitcoin, and they're buying it because they think the price of this ETF is going to go up. It's got nothing to do with Bitcoin as money, has nothing to do with anything. It's just that people are buying that particular speculative asset in their brokerage accounts instead of some other speculative asset, because for the moment, they think there's upside. I think right now, the upside is that, Trump is going to win, and Trump is going to use taxpayer money to buy Bitcoin. As a payback for the Bitcoin community for supporting his campaign. He's going to then create inflation and use the money to buy up Bitcoin, and that's going to push up the price. And so people want to get ahead of that so they can sell to the U.S. taxpayer who's buying at gunpoint from his government.
Okay, Mr. Breedlove, please address the point that in 100 years, we have very good reason to believe that gold will be scarce and valuable, whereas we have no reason to believe Bitcoin not only either won't be there might be a replication of it, making it not valuable and scarce. Please address that point. And Bitcoin could be replicated along with the concept of intrinsic value.
Okay, so let's try to hopefully put a button in this intrinsic value thing once and for all. I get annoyed hearing this term thrown around all the time. Once again, value is subjective, right? If I'm going to quote the great Mises, he said, value is not intrinsic, it is not in things, it is within us. It is in the way in which man reacts to the conditions of his environment. So I think what most people mean when they say intrinsic value is industrial use value versus monetary exchange value, right? These are the two poles we're going to look at for each asset. And indeed, each asset exhibits some degree of moneyness, right? If you hold it with the intention of trading it in the future rather than consuming it or using it in an investment process, then you're treating that asset as money, whether it's water, jewels, whatever it is. And so the asset that is most widely held with that intention is money by definition. So if I look at gold, gold's market cap is around $15.7 trillion today. Roughly 10% of gold's market cap is attributable to demand for gold as an industrial use metal. Dentistry, computers, all the things we use gold, all the industrial processes we use gold in. Roughly 1.6 trillion of gold's 15.7 trillion market cap are demand for gold as an industrial use asset. The other 90% of gold's market cap is attributable to demand for gold as a monetary asset, right? This is people basically holding it with the intention of using it to preserve purchasing power over time, which is to say, spend it in the future on something else at some point. Okay, so that's gold. Gold's got some industrial use demand, and it has some monetary use demand, roughly 90-10 split. Bitcoin has a market cap of around $1.4 trillion today, and 100% of Bitcoin's market cap is attributable to demand for Bitcoin as a monetary asset, because Bitcoin doesn't have any industrial use value. That does not mean Bitcoin doesn't have intrinsic value. Nothing has intrinsic value. Value is subjective, right? As we've quoted Mises earlier. Value does not inhere in things. It inheres within us and how we respond to the conditions of our environment. So Bitcoin has 0% industrial use value, but this is a feature, not a bug. This makes Bitcoin the world's only pure money, the only asset that is 100% monetary use value or 100% monetary premium, if you want to use that term. And so this argument that's often wielded like a cudgel against Bitcoin, properly understood through the lens of economics, is actually one of its highest compliments. It's like, no, this is the first pure money. We've had approximations of money up until this point, even the great gold, right, which is 90% monetary premium and 10% industrial use value. Even that's not a pure money. It's an impure money. So I think Bitcoin is basically the invention of a digitally pure money. It does not replace gold, as I've said earlier, right? Gold still has its place in physical reality. You know, if we get into that world of no electricity, internet, bullets, well, you're going to need a lot of physical gold. But in a world that has a functional digital ecosystem, I think Bitcoin is the dominant money because it is pure money.
Mr. Schiff, please address